Hey friends, welcome back. Today, it's a soil science showdown. Let's do it. So why am I doing this? Well, we're talking about food plots here. And I've already paid to have a professional lab sample my soil and my food plot that I'm putting in this year. This is my first food plot that I'm putting in. But I wanted to see if the at-home tests, how they stack up compared to a professional lab. I'm guessing that you've already done some shopping on Amazon and you've looked at the prices on these different soil tests. You've probably watched lots of videos on how to do a soil test. This isn't a video on how to get a soil sample, but comparing a lab test to an at-home test. I'm going to attempt to see what the benefits are of the home test versus the benefits of the lab test are. Let's compare the differences and see what we learn. What we're working with today is the Luster Leaf Rapid Test. This is an at-home test. It comes with 40 tests, it says, but it's actually 10 per type of soil test that you're doing. So it gives you a pH test, it gives you, and the NPK. I'm gonna talk a little bit about what I know about NPK, but I'm by no means a soil scientist. I'm doing this as an amateur, but I think we're gonna learn something and we're gonna have fun along the way. Let's see what we learn. All right, here we go. The instructions say to add 1 cup of soil. There's a little piece of something in there. Get rid of that. And that too. And 5 cups of distilled water. Spill a little. All right, we'll give that a stir and let that sit overnight. All right, here we are the next day. The water is settled. Well, the soil has settled in to just about there, but it's still kind of cloudy. But what I do know about these tests is that the way that the manufacturer has it set up is it accounts for any clay that might still be suspended in the water. Now let's talk about what's in the box. It comes with, like I said, the 4 containers, one being the pH and your NPK. Let's open it up and find out what's in here. Actually, I already opened it up and kind of cheated, so I wouldn't seem like such a dummy. So the cool thing about this is the way that they've done it is the chemicals that come in the box match the container that you're working with. So the pH is green, the nitrogen test is purple, blue, and orange. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna start with the pH because the pH, out of all of the research that I've done, seems to be the most important part of a soil sample. Because without the proper pH, your plants can't absorb the nutrients that are provided to them. So we're gonna start with pH. So here we go. First things first. Take the green test kit. You're gonna fill up this thing up to the soil up to this line. Then you're gonna drop the stuff that's in this capsule in there, and then you're going to fill the rest of this up to this line with distilled water. It's preferred if you use distilled water. And you're only going to fill up the test side of this comparator is what they call it, with the soil, so it's not gonna take very much. Here we go. So I'm doing my best to only get it in the one side, and I've already overfilled it. So I'm gonna dump a little bit out. Kind of settle it in. I still have too much in there. Let me squish it down a little bit. How are we doing? That's pretty good. All right. Next step, we're gonna use that little capsule. So when it comes to the capsule, I found that if you kind of roll it in your fingers a little bit before you do this, it makes it easier to twist it apart. So here we go. Twist it apart. I'm not gonna pull it off all the way yet because I've expect it's going to spill. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this powder in the test side. Get it all in there as best I can. Okay, next is the water. So we're going to get the distilled water and we're going to fill it up to that little line right there. So once I fill it with water, I'm going to put the cap back on, shake it thoroughly for a little while, and then it says let it sit for a minute. Be right back. All right, so it's been a minute, and to me, it looks like my soil in that food plot is right about the slight acid or slightly acidic level in the 6.5 range, which is just about perfect. All right, for the next three, NPK, you're gonna do basically the same thing. You're going to fill up your comparator up to the fill line on both sides. But when it comes to the solution part where you're putting the chemical in there, you're only gonna put it on the test side, okay? But here's something that's important, and it's in the instructions. So on the blue test, if you notice that there are little blue flakes that accumulate in the test side, you're allowed to shake it back up. But on the orange one, if any orange or brown flakes accumulate, don't shake it. It's in the instructions. I'm not the expert. All right, so once you have your water, your solution from there in your comparator, and you get your chemical in there, you're gonna shake it up and you're gonna let it sit for 10 minutes. That's for all three. Okay, I'm starting with N, and then I'm gonna do P and K just because that's the order, and I'm a little OCD about it, so that's what I'm doing. All right, I did the shaky. Now we just wait 10 minutes. See you then. All right, here we go. Here's our results. So for the nitrogen test, to me, it looks closest to maybe depleted. I don't think it's quite deficient. So all the way down to P0. For the phosphorus test, or the P test, it really, to me, looks like it's in the deficient P1 range. Maybe even depleted, but definitely low. And for the K potash test, this one definitely in the, well, not definitely, I guess, but it's closest to probably depleted. So what does that mean? And how does that compare to the lab test? Starting with the professional lab, I went with the Whitetail Institute Laboratory Soil Test Kit for $14.99 on Amazon. The key thing here to remember is that you're going to have to pay to ship your soil to the lab after you gather your soil sample. Our focus area here is going to be much like we did with the home test with the pH, the nitrogen, the phosphorus, the potassium. But as you can see, there's other data points here that the professional lab provides that the at-home test doesn't, such as the calcium, magnesium, CEC, and that's just the positive and negatively charged particles in the ground that the plants need or that they use to feed themselves, and then the organic matter. And here's a closer look at what you get back in your email from the professional lab. And you can see that there's quite a bit of information here. If you take a look in the upper right where it says actual soil pH, you can see that it says 6.6. In the upper left where it says what's in the soil, you'll notice that the nitrogen is missing, but you can see that the phosphorus reads at adequate level, and potassium reads at a low level, and then the additional calcium and magnesium. And taking a look below in table 1, the lab provides you with specific amounts of fertilizer to apply if you're using a bulk application. And in table 2, they show the amount of fertilizer to apply if you're using bags, which I assume that most of you guys, like myself, we're using bags to apply fertilizer as well. So that makes it easy for us. It takes away any of the calculations or math that we might have to do. And then down in table 3, it shows the amount of lime to apply for the different types of forage that you're using. And you can see that I've chosen to use clover and buckwheat this season. And the lime is used to correct the pH level. So just FYI for you there. All right, for the pros, for the professional lab, I'd say you can see that it provides for really accurate data, and it provides additional data that the at-home test doesn't provide. And it also provides you with specific amounts of fertilizer and lime to add. It just takes out any of the guesswork, so you know that you're probably doing it right. But the cons on this, it did notice that the lab doesn't provide with a nitrogen level. I'm not sure that that's very important, but just to point out, this test that you get is a single test, and it will require you to ship your sample back to the lab. In my case, I had 2 tests and I paid $25 to ship it back. So assuming the cost is split evenly, $12.50, you're looking at $26.50 for one test to get this type of data. Okay, moving on to the at-home test. As I'd already mentioned, we used the Luster Leaf Rapid Test. I paid $16.59 for it. Being an Amazon Prime member, I didn't pay any shipping, so that's my total cost for this test. The results, we see that we've got a 6.5% pH, which compared to the professional lab was almost dead on. It showed that the nitrogen was depleted, the phosphorus is deficient, the potassium is depleted, and then the additional data that the professional lab provides is just not part of this at-home test. So calcium, magnesium, CEC, and organic matter just isn't part of it. Okay, here you can see the inside of the cardboard that they provide with the at-home test. There's a lot of data here, a lot of charts. These are recommendations on the amount of fertilizer to apply, based on the type of product or crop or feed that you're trying to grow here. So this is the part that's where it's going to get kind of hard, because you're going to have to do some math. You're going to have to figure out what your area is, if you know it in acres, if you know it in square feet. This chart actually does the amounts based in square feet. So you're going to have to take some time and do some math here. So that alone might be a bit of a detractor for doing the at-home test. All right, then the pros and cons for the at-home test. It seems like it's going to be more affordable, but you're going to have to do that math to see if how much fertilizer you're going to apply, and potentially that could cost you more money in the long run. But continue on with the pros. Provides nearly instant data. It does provide a guideline for how you're going to do fertilization. You get more tests, so you get 10 per test type for a total of 40, and you don't have any additional shipping costs. And for some of the cons, I'd say the results are generalized and somewhat subjective. So you're looking at the color matchers and soil amendments are not specific to your soil, and it's missing several data points. Whether the value you get out of those that's going to be totally up to you. All right, so there you have it. Final thoughts. I am quite surprised how well the pH test stacked up against the lab test. It was right on, like 6.5 on the home test compared to 6.6 at the lab. That's great. And the reason why is, like I said, from all the research that I've done, all the videos that I've watched, the pH is the most important part about getting a food plot put in. That's what plants need to start with. So it's great, right? It's great. As far as the other numbers, with the NPK being a little bit on the low side or the conservative side compared to the lab test, what does that mean? You'd probably end up if you went with the home test, you'd end up putting more fertilizer out than you need, which probably means that, and there's a chance that you could burn the plant roots, or so there's a possibility of damage, from what I understand, to the plants. Or you could be wasting a little bit of money. So what do I think? As a first timer, I was really willing to spend the more money to get the professional test done, to and make sure that I got it right, because we're on a learning curve here, and we don't have a lot of time when you're starting this as an older person getting into a new hobby, it's hard, and you want to take all of the advantages. So if you're able to drop the extra money for the lab test, I don't see why you would go wrong there. But what do I really think about soil samples? I think it's important, and the reason why is because we're talking about progress here, right? You're putting effort in and you want to see some progress. We're not going for perfect, we're learning. So get the soil sample if you want to, or not. It's totally up to you. But if you've taken the time to watch this video, thank you so much for being here. Your time and attention on these things is important to me, and I really love the interaction on these videos. So thanks again, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. One more thing. All right, so here's what I know about NPK. So N on this test, you're gonna see that it says it's nitrogen, P is phosphorus, and K is potassium. I'm gonna put a link in the description below to a video that I thought was really great. The guy on the channel, he has like a really cool personality. He seems to be really into this kind of soil stuff. So go check him out. But just kind of as a summary, since you're here, phosphorus, according to my friend on the other channel, it's not actually phosphorus. It's actually closer to phosphate. And the K isn't actually potassium, and you'll see potash referenced a lot. So what it really is, it's kind of a fraction of potassium and phosphorus. So go watch that video. I thought it was really cool. He kind of compares it to beer and how you need three things when it comes to fertilizer. You need to know what's in the bag. You need to know basically if you're going into the ground, what's already there, and also the space that you're covering. So find your three parts, go watch that video. I thought it was cool. The guy's got a really cool personality to me. I like him. And enjoy it. And so come back next week when I post my next one. I think we're fighting the weeds next time, guys. See you then. Hey friends, it's been 3 days and this stuff still hasn't settled. So if you're doing it, don't wait forever.